When you're watching short form content, what happens is there's less electrical pulses. Your brain's still doing things. It's still regulating your breathing. It's still going to be regulating you swallowing. It's still going to be regulating your temperature, but you're not consciously using it. And the way the brain works is and this is a very, 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 very low level, shallow perspective of neuroscience that won't be necessarily representative as far as biology goes. But the way it works is like this. When you do something, neuron thickens. When you don't do something, neuron thins. So basically, this is why habits are so hard to give up, because if you imagine from a biological perspective in your brain, and this isn't entirely accurate, but it's the easiest way to explain it to a broad audience, when you engage in a behavior, every time that in order for that behavior to happen, your neuron has to kind of like fire. And every time the neuron fires, it gets slightly reinforced and it's more likely to fire again. And this is why addictions that have been built up over the last 10, 20 years or so are so hard to give up, because your neurons have become thick and that's just their default mode of firing. It's just addiction. And so when you use and watch short form content, your neurons are thickening to watch short form content, but in the process, everything else in your brain just stops. And here's the terrifying statistic. I did some research on this. The average Gen Z or millennial person spends between 3 to 4 hours per day on short form content. 3 to 4 hours a day. You spend 16 hours awake. And if you spend 4 hours on short form content, that's 25% of your life, your time, and your brain that are literally just being decayed before you. By watching short form content for 4 hours a day, if your average life expectancy was 100 years, you might as well just shave 25 years off your life. There is no bigger time sink, no bigger life sink, and no bigger brain sink and neurochemistry sink than short form content. It is literally death in life. Like, you're not living, you're not doing anything, you're not building any meaningful relationships, you're not making any progress in any direction in any way whatsoever towards a financial or relationship or health goal. You're not learning anything new. Hell, you're not even having a good experience. You're not even conscious. It's just not happening. It's not real. Think of it like this with your brain. Have you ever seen someone disabled before who's disabled from the waist down and they're sat in a wheelchair? And you'll know what I'm talking about here if you've seen this, because people who are disabled from the waist down or paralyzed from the waist down, they can't use their legs. And what happens is, because they can't use their legs, they stop walking. And when they stop walking, you'll notice their legs get really skinny and they lose the muscle mass and the bone density in their legs, which means their legs physically shrink. And so do their pelvis and stuff like that. And you might have observed that before, right? And what that basically is that's what's happening to your brain when you watch short form content. Your brain might not be getting smaller, but in a weird way it actually is, because it's literally decaying. Like, you become 25% more stupid, less articulate, less experienced, less emotionally available when you spend literally a quarter of your life on these platforms. If that's not a good enough reason for you to quit watching short form content, I don't know what is, but you're literally just giving your life up and sacrificing things. And it sounds great. When you pair this, by the way, and I'll leave you with this in closing, when you pair this with large language models, with AI, we get an even worse situation, because what's starting to happen now is short form content consumption is on the rise, but so is GPT usage, right? So ChatGPT, large language models. What a lot of people are doing right now is they're letting ChatGPT think for them.